Hey crafty friends, I have a stack of photos that I want to scrapbook. These are all from our daughter's first time flying this past fall, and I want to try something different because I want to squeeze as many photos on as I can. You've probably seen the traveler's notebook kind of projects where you have a very unstructured flow of just like photos, journaling, maybe some doodling, those sorts of things. I thought those are such fun projects. What if we took that look and brought it to a 12 by 12 format? I don't know how this is going to turn out, but let's go ahead and give it a go. I want to start off with white bases so that I have lots of flexibility for adding journaling and things. I'm not sure if I want to add some pattern paper. I have pulled the Nature's Sweetness paper from Stampin' Up, as well as this new one. This is the beautiful Bokeh. And there are some colors in here that will work, and they're very neutral patterns. They just have like the dot patterns, and then on the back they have this kind of like splattery look, which I thought would go with almost anything. So I pulled those just in case I want to bring in some pattern and color. Let's start with the photos first, figure out where everything's going to go, and then we can work on the other elements. I'm definitely going to bring in stamping. Since I don't really do a ton of doodling, I think stamping is the easiest way to add some extra details to my pages. I also wanted to stick to that kind of Instax kind of print look. They come sort of like a Polaroid with the frame around them. And so I just cut these out on my Cricut, and I actually stacked 3 together. So they got a bit of thickness to them, just regular white Willow cardstock. And then I just cut them out and then glued the layers together. And then I also did some smaller ones because I thought that way I could squeeze in even more pictures and maybe some that aren't as crisp and clear. So I'm gonna go ahead and start laying these out. We'll start with the very first flight that we took. And then I also have a little 2x2 here. Some of my 2x2s turned out slightly smaller, some are slightly larger. So I did cut a couple of different sized frames to make sure that they fit really well. And I kind of want to do clusters, offset them a little bit. I have some landscape ones as well. Okay, we'll go like that. And then I have like a little plain photo here. Now, I'm not sure if I want to keep this to 2, kind of have like a 3, 2, 1. I have a nice little triangle going on here, but I also have this photo that I might like to use, so I could replace that one. I could put those kind of like stacked on top of each other, or I could do sort of like a corner here. I'm not sold on which option I want to do yet. All right, and then I have another little small one here, and then a group shot. Gotta always have a group shot. And coming into, actually, I think that was actually leaving Hawaii. Coming in, I couldn't get a good picture. And then I want to do something like this down here. I might tweak these and move things around, but that's the general flow of what I'm thinking. And I think these frames are going to work really well to just add a little bit of pop and make it feel like a travel journal. I just laid out the frames to kind of figure out what I wanted to do, and then I'm gonna go ahead and start sticking these on. Now I think the best thing to do, because of the size that these are, I think what I want to do is just use a little bead of glue, very small bead of glue, and then just stick these on the back like that. So I'm going to bring in my Barely Art glue. It has a really nice fine tip applicator. And I'm gonna move these out of the way so I don't accidentally get glue on them. And then I don't want to do like a really big bead of glue. I'm gonna make it quite thin. And a little ways back from the edge so that hopefully it won't ooze out on me. You could also use a tape runner, but it's kind of narrow, so I think glue will be my best bet. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of these off camera, and then we'll get started figuring out the rest of our page. So I got all my frames put on. I have not stuck anything down. I've just been playing around with arrangements. I know I want to kind of have my photos off kilter a little bit. I don't want them in a grid. I just have to be careful I keep them within the bounds of the pages. And I'm really happy with how this is looking. I think This should come together good. I just don't want to stick anything down yet because I'm probably going to want to add some stamping and move things out of the way and be able to stamp underneath. Now, looking at papers, I pulled out that beautiful Bokeh paper, and these are the colors that are in that set. And then here's the back sides of those. So that one has like a little bit of peach and purple in it. So some good options. She's wearing that first day, so our first 2 flights, Isabella was wearing a peach colored shirt. And then the other days they were like neutral, black and white, black and peach. So I think kind of peach, and there's some pink from her blanket. Those are kind of the main colors popping out at me. So the purple, there's a little bit of purple, but it's more like a magenta type purple. So I'm thinking if I want to add anything, probably not that one. Probably these 2 would be the best bets. So let's just try it and see how it looks. I cut like a little frame that's slightly bigger. These are 3x4 photos and then 2x2 photos. The frames are slightly larger than that. Then I have some of the Nature Sweetness. I like that this has gold foil in it, and the text makes me think like travel journal. It's kind of like what I was thinking, but I'm not sure if I would want to mat everything or maybe just a couple arrangements. Maybe if I put some more up here under this one, just to kind of balance out that peach. That could be nice. It really makes that blue pop against the peach color. I don't think I want to put it behind everything though, even if I use like a script or something. I've done pretty good damage on this paper collection. It has like a very botanical type feel to it, lots of gold foil. Kind of makes me think of like a garden journal or something. We have grid with foil, we have gray with gold script. So there's some really beautiful patterns in here, but I don't want it to get too busy. That could be a good option too, just some splatter and some writing. I could also just add a little bit of this to this grouping up here. Obviously, I'd have to play with that a little bit. Okay, I'm going to think on that as we keep adding pieces. Now, I went into my stash and I found some stamps because I know I want to add stamping on here. That's one of the main reasons I picked white as my background. Since the frames are white, it might have been nice to have a little bit of a contrasting color in the background, but I think we will get that contrast from ink colors. So I have this Watercolor World by Stampin' Up. This is still a current set and perfect for travel. It's quite a big stamp. So I could even stamp that so it's spanning a couple of pages, or just have parts of it kind of showing up, like maybe stamp off the edge. That would be a good idea. I grabbed this set because it has some journaling lines and it also has lots of little words. I love stamping little words like this on this type of layout. We even have a geotag, some arrows, some little check boxes so I can make a checklist, camera. All of these I think could work really good with this. Then I pulled in Wild Ferns just for this texture stamp. I don't think I'm going to actually be stamping any ferns, but I was looking at this texture stamp and that might happen. Then I grabbed this Under the Moon set because I was looking at the clouds. I was looking for what kind of clouds I had in my collection. The other set I found that has clouds is this one. This is Dreams Take Flight. It's an old Close to My Heart one. And I thought those clouds could work really good. Plus we have birds and some nice sayings actually. You're going places, the sky's the limit, life is a grand adventure. Like pretty much all of those would work. Even this like little scallop kind of sketchy looking border could be really cool. Now, if you don't have that one, there is a similar set in the annual catalog. This is Take to the Sky, and you can see it has some good options in there as well. There's planes, but there's 3 really good cloud options that have coordinating dies, so you could die cut them. And actually the paper collection in here could work really well too, especially if you're not wanting like a girly type theme, you want a little bit more travel journal, a little bit more masculine feel or neutral feel. There's a beautiful cloud paper, and some of these like the map, that would be perfect for what I'm doing. Unfortunately, I do not have this pack, so I am making do with what I have. I also pulled the Elements of Text set because I thought this will work really good if I want to fill in anywhere or add stamping kind of around my photos, plus some splatter. This one, you're probably going to continually see me pulling that in because it's a really good set. Now, this Everyday Arches I pulled in because mostly like just for the sentiments and the little planes I thought could be fun to add to our clusters. Another one from my stash is Let's Go Anywhere. It has a really nice title options and then of course lots of travel themed things. This is one of the last releases from Close to My Heart. This one also has little planes in it, so if you have that one, we got a passport, arrows, geotag. Same with this one, just really good travel sentiments. This is quite an old one. It's called Hit the Road. I'm not even sure when that came out. It was back when the Cricut cartridges were big because it says artistry. It's one of the Close to My Heart Cricut cartridges. And then I pulled this one. I liked that little tag. I also like this arrow. It says, Let's Go. So we definitely have some good options. Also, The Adventure Awaits would make a fun title too. Well, I am definitely doing some stash diving today. I pulled out my Buildable Tags die set from Close to My Heart. And I have just been cutting some little tags out of Crumb Cake. I really do like that color. I don't know if I'm going to end up using all these, if it's too much. I won't really know until I get stamping done, but you can see I've started to lay out my stamps, kind of thinking about where I want them. I think this one for sure, I'll want to have it in a couple different places. So like I could have it up here, or I could have like just lightly sort of in the background, or this would actually be another really great spot for it because I have space over on this side. So you can see I have a little Let's Go over here. So basically I'm just setting things out, kind of planning where I might like them. I do want to be aware of not making it too full and super cluttered because I am going to add in some journaling. And after all that, I do want a little bit of white space left. I really like how this is starting to come together. What originally sparked this idea was a class I was taking on Skillshare about travel journaling. This video is sponsored by Skillshare, which is the largest online learning platform perfect for creative people. They have a huge selection of classes on all kinds of topics like photography, painting, music, graphic design, and more. They even have something called Learning Paths, which is basically a curated collection of classes that are put together to help you master a specific skill. I think this is such a cool idea, especially if you have a topic that you want to do a deep dive on. The class that inspired my layout today is called Travel Journaling, Capture Memories on the Go by Peggy Dean. She showed a bunch of her different types of travel scrapbooks and journals, including some older, more like traditional style books that totally remind me of my first scrapbooks. I really enjoyed how she presented the ideas, and I thought it would be fun to expand that onto a 12 by 12 page. She's really fun to listen to, so I think I might take a couple of her other classes on floral illustration and embroidering on photos. My wish list of classes I want to watch on Skillshare is continually growing. If you want to expand your creative practice and try something new, the first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. I hope you check it out. Now my next step to figure out is what color of inks do I want to use? Do I want to keep more like neutral colors? I don't want to add too much color to the background because I think it'll take away from the photos, but I don't think I want to stamp everything in brown either. So that's going to kind of be my next dilemma of what I want to do. I think the clouds at the top will look really fun, and then I can continue that on. Maybe even just have clouds all the way along the top on both pages, kind of help it feel united since this is her first time flying, and that's basically the whole theme of the page. I also need to write down my story and figure out how I want to break this up. I was thinking here I could do, since I have a big like open spot, maybe I could do a bigger chunk of journaling here, but I want to leave room to add some by the different clusters because there's different parts of the story. Like this one here, we had a layover in LA. We got in at night and our flight was leaving early the next morning. There was a whole debacle of us getting to our hotel, and we actually never got to our hotel. So I definitely want to put that story somewhere on here. So I think that's going to be my next step. I'm going to write out my story, figure out how much I have to say and how I want to chunk it out around the page, because I don't want to start stamping and then cover up too much of the background. I went ahead and typed up all my journaling and tried to format it into the sizes that will fit in those areas. I actually had a ton to say, so these turned out to be much bigger blocks of journaling than I had planned. That's one of the reasons why I typed it instead of handwriting it, because I knew I would run out of space for sure if I wrote it out by hand. I like stamping or typing out or writing out my journaling on printer paper so that I can test out where everything is going. When I'm stamping on my background, I did it with the clouds here. I tried out a couple different ink colors and ended up going with the Balmy blue. For actually putting my journaling on the page, I decided to print it out on the transparent label paper. This is actually the first time I've used it. I got this idea from Erin, Crafty Concepts with Erin here on YouTube. This is my first time using it. I thought it was interesting how it turned out quite a bit darker than just like a normal printed piece of paper, but it looks really good once it's transferred onto the page. I want to make the paper a little bit less crisp and a little bit more worn, like it's part of a travel journal. So I'm going to rip some of my edges. I'm also going to distress some of my edges with a little distressing tool, just to rough it up a little bit and make it feel not quite so straight and crisp. I know some of these details are really small, but I feel like it does make an impact on the final page. This is such a fun page, and I have so many memories from this trip. It was super exciting for Isabella, but it was also exciting for us. We love traveling, and to be able to take her somewhere, especially to Hawaii for her first time, it was just so much fun. Now there's a lot of white on white happening on this page, so I decided to grab my black ink pad. Any black ink will work. I'm using Intense Black, and I'm using a inking tool here and just hitting the edges. I don't want to bring the ink really on top, just hitting the very edges of all my pieces. The pattern paper, all of it is getting a black edge so that it pops against the background. And you'll see how that comes together in a minute. I think it really adds some definition to the pieces. I flipped over my Versamats, and now I'm going to stamp that watercolor map set. And I'm stamping on scrap paper. It's hard to see white on white, but I only want the second generation, the lighter impression, because I feel like the crumb cake ink is just too dark, just inking it up and stamping straight on my background. I think it will take away too much. And I'm going to put this in a few different places, either like parts of it or the whole thing. Just spread it around and add some background to my page. Now the cool thing is with that transparent label paper, I can even stamp it under where my journaling is going, and you'll still be able to read the journaling. Now I had thought I was going to actually add way more stamping to my background. I was going to add like some script stamping and stuff, but by the time I added this little bit that I'm doing now, and then I have all the pattern paper, which I wasn't sure before if I was going to use, I decided I didn't want to add too much more to my background. So I actually didn't end up using the text stamp, which was a surprise to me because I had planned on it, but the pattern paper kind of filled in for that. Now I'm stamping this title in Calypso Coral. I put my ruler up there so that I can stamp on the soft side of the Versamat, but still kind of see a measurement to try and get my title exactly where I want it. It still was a little too far left, so I had to rearrange my papers there, but it worked out fine. So the next step is I want to add some clouds. So I'm using the Under the Moon set. I decided I liked the little bit more solid looking clouds as compared to the outline, and I'm using Balmy blue ink. I'm going to both stamp straight on, and then I'm also going to do like second generation stamping off and then stamping for a lighter version. I tried Glacier ink, which is a close to my heart color and is usually my go-to sky color, but I felt like the Balmy blue actually matched the blue sky a little bit better that's in my photo. I was worried it was going to be a little too bright and kind of take away, but I'm glad I went for the brighter blue. Now, while I'm stamping, I just want to quickly tell you the story of our layover in LA. We got in at like 8 or 9 p.m. We went to go find our shuttle to go to the hotel, and guess what? There was no shuttle. There was shuttles for tons of other hotels, and we called the hotel. They hung up on us. They wouldn't answer. We called our travel agents. We couldn't get any sort of help. So after we were there for like an hour, standing on the sidewalk, starving, with an exhausted toddler, we decided to just hop on a shuttle for a hotel nearby And we just went and got a completely different room at a different hotel, grabbed some food downstairs in that hotel, and then passed out and went to sleep for just a few hours before we had to be up at 4 a.m. At the time, it was super stressful, but looking back now, of course, is just another travel story. Now I'm bringing in this film strip that I cut from the In Full Bloom card making set. I love this set. It has beautiful butterfly, but also this film strip is really fun. I cut it out of black cardstock, and I'm going to tuck it in as another layer just to help draw the eye over there. I'm loving the super layered feel, and I'm going to bring it in again on the other page to just tie everything together. I don't like to have things just in one spot. I definitely want to have it in 3 different spots. I'm also filling in this little gap below the title because I rearranged my photos. I ended up with some extra space there, so I had to add in a little bit more clouds to help fill it in so I didn't have a big white gap. Now I decided to just take one film strip, cut it in half because it's just going to be a very subtle little layer in these clusters, and I didn't need the full thing. So I'm just going to tuck it under at the bottom here and then another one at the top. That way we're continuing that feel, but it's just a subtle little part of the layer. I went ahead off camera and stuck everything down, and now I'm adding this stamp. I put that on Crumb cake cardstock and then cut it out. And when I was putting my photo clusters together, because I had those frames stacked, I did use some pop dots to help get them raised up a little bit to keep the dimension and keep the photos flat. And now I'm bringing in my embellishment binder. If you watched my craft room tour, then you saw I have redone some of my embellishment storage, and I've been using these sticky albums to help keep all of my stickers and leftover embellishments. So anything that's a little bit flatter, paperboard, things like that, then I am keeping them in these albums, and they're working great. This little paperboard globe looks really cool. So does the camera. I had kind of a hard time choosing between the two of those things, and basically I'm just looking for a few little embellishments that I can scatter around. I don't want to go crazy. My layouts are quite busy already, but I want just some little hints of black to embellish, especially over the white areas on the photo frames, just to add a little something. Now I'm just going to play with placement and decide where I want everything. I have that little how cool piece. I'm going to add just some little words. I put fun over on the far right there at the bottom, and I will bring in some paperboard hearts as well. Now I decided I definitely want to include some little planes. So these are from the Everyday Arches stamp set. I'm just putting them with black ink onto white cardstock, and then I'll hand trim them, leaving a little white border around them. They're not too bad to cut out, but I thought they would be fun little embellishments. I was tempted to keep stamping and adding more to these clusters, but I decided I better call it quits because things are getting a little busy. So I'm just using my Barely Art glue, and I'm going around and gluing everything down into place. Those big blocks of text definitely make this page look more busy, but that also makes it look like a traveler's notebook, because that's usually what it is. Photos sprinkled around, big blocks of text or handwriting. And I love how this is looking. My vision that I had in my head really did come out on the page. Now, if you don't like those big blocks of text, another thing I debated doing was just creating an insert to put on the back of my page with a little tab that I could pull up and just read the story all together. But I think this worked a little bit better for the feel I was trying to create. Also, if you don't have as much to say as I do, because I had a lot apparently to say, if you just handwrite it, that will take up more space with fewer words. If you think you might like to try an actual travel journal, Stampin' Up! Actually has a kit called the Scenic Route Travel Journal Kit, and it makes like a traveler's notebook style album, except it has a hard cover and has stickers and inserts and pretty sturdy pages. So I will leave that link below if you want to go check that out. Now, something I forgot to mention when I was going around preparing the layers for this page, on all those little crumb cake cardstock tags, I put linen thread. It's one of my all-time favorite things from Stampin' Up! I love this linen thread, and I think it looks really good, adds some movement to this page, and I'm going around and just adding some glue onto the threads to make sure that they're not overlapping my journaling and that they'll stay where I want them. Now my final touch on these pages is adding some stamping. My head got in the way for a lot of it, so I stamped the You're Going Places on that right-hand page from the Dreams Take Flight set from Close to My Heart. And then I also stamped a couple from the Love This Moment set, just here and there. And then this last one is from the Hit the Road set from Close to My Heart. So just little words sprinkled in to finish things off. I'm going to show you a close-up here so that you can see that, how it all came together. You can see how some of my photos are popped up. They have a little bit of dimension, and I think that really gives some depth to the page. This page is just so much fun to look at. I tried to balance adding lots of little details, but not so much details that it was overly busy. So it's kind of a fine line to walk, but I am so happy with how this turned out. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and if you want to see some more of my travel layouts and get some more inspiration for your vacation pages, check out this video here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.